guys, welcome back. My name is Nathan and today I'm going to be doing another 2020 NHL mock draft simulation. Now, like I explained in my other lottery simulation video a few weeks back, this is not my prospect rankings. This is going to be a simulation of the top 3 and the top 15 for the upcoming 2020 NHL draft. But unlike that video, today we'll have the realistic standings, the current standings. A few weeks ago I made this same video and the season at that point wasn't suspended. So now we can get an actual realistic look at how the order might be for 2020. And we're going to be using Tankathon to simulate the top 15 picks, see which teams get into the top 3 and where these prospects might end up. So, how does the top 3 simulation end up in today's video, and where does each prospect go in the top 15 in 2020? Watch till the end for all my picks and the rankings, and of course hit that subscribe button if you're new. Now, just like the last video, I did this one time and it already went crazy. Coming in number 1, the Winnipeg Jets move up 11 spots to get the first overall pick. The LA Kings move up 2 spots to get second overall. And the New York Rangers going up 10 spots to get into the top 3 at third overall. Then you have Detroit number 4, Ottawa at number 5 and 6, back-to-back picks. Anaheim at number 7, New Jersey number 8, Buffalo at 9, and Montreal, who was first in my last lottery simulation, now finds themselves at 10th overall, and so on and so forth. And we're going to be using this top 15 to see where some of the top 2020 prospects will end up. And we're going to start out with the first overall pick in this simulation, the Winnipeg Jets, who jumped up 11 spots to get to number 1, and in the end, they will pick Alexis Lafreniere. Now, left wing wise, they're already pretty set. They have Kyle Connor and Nikolai Ehlers, but you could probably put Ehlers on the right side potentially, and then have a line of left wings of Kyle Connor, and then you have Alexis Lafreniere as a second line guy. That would be pretty nasty in my opinion. And Winnipeg doesn't need Alexis Lafreniere at all, but that's a team that would definitely take him. And if they somehow find themselves at first overall, I think it would be a no-brainer pick, as it should be. But now going to the number 2 overall pick and the LA Kings, who jumped up 2 spots to select second overall. And this is kind of the weird case for LA because they would obviously want to get a number 1 pick. They would want to get Lafreniere. I think they would take Lafreniere 110% over Quinton Byfield. And that's kind of the problem for LA, but still in the end, I think second overall they do take Quinton Byfield from the Sudbury Wolves of the OHL. Now for LA, when it comes to center prospects, to me they are the best in the league. And if they got Quinton freaking Byfield on top of that, that would be absolutely insane. LA really doesn't need another center, but I think if they do get Quinton Byfield, he would be the number 1 center of the future. You have a center core for the future of him, Quinton Byfield. Then you have Alex Turcotte, Gabriel Velarde, Akil Thomas, Rasmus Kupari. That is absolutely insane. No team needs that much depth. But for the LA Kings, they get Quinton Byfield. To me, that's a team that will be absolutely stacked for the future. But now coming in at number 3, and speaking of great futures by the way, with the New York Rangers, I think they will take the best center available, which for a lot of teams, I think including New York, is Tim Stutzle. Now Stutzle is a pretty great fit for a lot of teams, but especially for New York. Their prospect pool center-wise is not all that deep. You got Carl Henriksson and Morgan Barron, who are solid, but I'm not sure will be top 6 players in the future. Meanwhile, at the NHL level, you could potentially have a top 2 center core of Mika Zibanejad and Filip Chytil. You could also get a big boost from that. You could have Mika Zibanejad, Tim Stutzle, and Filip Chytil. A top 3 European center group like that would be absolutely stacked. And now coming in with the Detroit Red Wings at number 4, who unfortunately lost the first time lottery. At number 4 though, the Detroit Red Wings would still get an excellent player, and I think they will select Lucas Raymond. Raymond is a pretty great fit for Detroit in my opinion, and even though I think they would definitely take Stutzle if he was available, a guy like Raymond is a fantastic fit for that team. On the left wing side, you don't really have too much besides Tyler Bertuzzi. I think Lucas Raymond will be better than him. He's a guy who I think can put upwards of 80-90 points in the NHL someday if developed right, and for the Detroit Red Wings I think just makes sense. Offensively would be a huge add and could be in the NHL as soon as next season. But now we go on to the Ottawa Senators and their back-to-back picks at 5th overall and 6th overall. And this is where it gets kind of crazy because it can get a little bit crazy here. Ottawa is one of those teams that is the wild card of this draft. Now, it obviously depends on where they're drafting. They could draft 2nd and 3rd overall with that San Jose pick, but with this lottery, they're drafting 5th and 6th, and there's a lot of different ways that they can go with this. But coming at number 5, I think the Ottawa Senators first select Marco Rossi. To me, Marco Rossi is just around that 5 to 7 range. Very elite prospect, and for Ottawa, I think would be a fantastic fit. A big-time center who could be a number 1 center in the future. And then you go on to the 6th overall pick, and in my opinion, I was debating highly on this one. Do they go for Jamie Drysdale? But then I thought, nah, they already went for Lassie Thompson in the last draft. They already have Eric Brandstrom. They're pretty decent on defense, and of course, Thomas Chabot is pretty good too. So I think in this spot, they will go for either a forward or a goaltender. And I've gotten the question a lot of who would be the best fit to potentially draft Yaroslav Askarov, potentially in that 5 to 7 range. And with the way this lottery goes, where Ottawa has that 6th pick, I think that's the spot that Yaroslav Askarov ends up being drafted, and the Sens select him 6th overall. Now, I don't necessarily agree with this because goaltenders are whack, and I don't usually want to draft him close to the top 10, but Askarov is a unique exception. I have him around my 12th spot right now, but if you're going to take a flyer on a goaltender, Askarov is a good one to do, and for Ottawa, they don't really have that bona fide starter for the future. Joey Daccord is pretty solid, but in terms of starter potential, Askarov is their best bet. But now going on to number 7 and the Anaheim Ducks. And with Ottawa selecting Askarov at number 7, it's pretty much just the perfect scenario for Anaheim because you have the choices of Alexander Holtz and Jamie Drysdale. That is a good position to be in. But for the Anaheim Ducks, I don't think they will skip out on a defenseman, and I think they will go and select Jamie Drysdale 7th overall. Yes, I think they would love to have Alexander Holtz, and I think if Ottawa takes Jamie Drysdale, Holtz might end up dropping to Anaheim at that spot. But either way, when you have a guy like Jamie Drysdale available at number 7, I don't think there's going to be a lot of teams passing up that offer. Even though Anaheim has a solid young defense, adding a guy like Jamie Drysdale I think would be huge for them. He can be a number 1 defenseman, I think, in the NHL. And adding him on top of Hampus Lindholm and of Cam Fowler and all the guys on that defense like Josh Manson too, that will make a pretty scary decor alongside the forward group of great young guys like Trevor Zegras, Sam Steele, and Maxime Comtois. But there's not going to be many teams after this point not selecting Alexander Holtz, and that leads me to the 8th spot with the New Jersey Devils, and they would somehow find themselves selecting Alexander Holtz 8 overall, and that's what I think they'll end up doing. I think Holtz would be an absolute perfect scenario for New Jersey. Even in this scenario they end up dropping a spot or 2, they still end up with Alexander Holtz, which in my opinion is around where he should be. That 6th to 8th area is pretty much perfect for him. He's a guy that can be an absolute snipe. I think can score upwards of 30, 35 goals in the NHL someday. And for a team like New Jersey who has a bunch of playmakers and a guy that they really do need in a wing like Alexander Holtz, to me that's a pretty perfect fit. And again, can play in the NHL as soon as next year. But now coming in at number 9 with the Buffalo Sabres, and at this spot, I think they will select Cole Perfetti. Now, I think it's between him and Anton Lundell for that spot, but I think in the end they still will go for the center, which is what both of them are. But Cole Perfetti is a guy that could potentially play in the NHL next year. I don't think should, but potentially can. And for Buffalo, they're looking for that second line center of the future. With Dylan Cousins potentially now going to the wing at the NHL level, again, potentially, a guy like Cousins alongside Perfetti will be a pretty good Canadian duo for the future. And you already have Jack Eichel on that team. You already have some solid pieces. And I think the center is the way to go for Buffalo. They could go for a defenseman if somehow Jamie Drysdale were to drop, but I think Perfetti is a pretty good fit at number 9. But now going on to number 10 and the Montreal Canadiens, and in this spot, the Habs are always a huge wild card, but I think they will go for the defenseman, and that defenseman will be Jake Sanderson. Jake Sanderson is one of the more unique prospects in this draft because he could go as high as like 7, and I don't even know the reason for that. He had a great prospects game in the US, but still, I'm not too high on him. But a lot of NHL teams are, and I think the Habs will be one of those teams. They already selected Cole Caulfield in the last draft, and I think they'll go for a defenseman this time around. There might be a little bit of discussion there. It depends on who is available for the Habs, but I think Jake Sanderson will be the pick as a defensive defenseman going forward. But now we're getting outside the top 10, and at number 11, the Chicago Blackhawks, I think, will select Anton Lundell. Now, the team that ends up selecting Anton Lundell will likely be around that 8 to 12 range. And the team that ends up doing that, I think, will be very smart. And Lundell right now is going seriously underrated. Super great two-way center who I think could be a defensive stud while putting up upwards of 80 points. To me, Chicago will be very good in that department to select a guy like that. And after having Kirby Dach in the last draft, you have a top 2 center core going forward of Kirby Dach and Anton Lundell. To me, that is not bad at all. And for Chicago, I think will be the right move. But now coming in at number 12 and the New Jersey Devils, and I think 12 overall, they will select Jack Quinn. I'm confusing him and Quinn Hughes and Jack Hughes, and you get the whole spiel. But Jack Quinn, one of the best goal scorers in this draft, 12th overall from the Arizona pick that New Jersey has. Jack Quinn will be a pretty solid fit at number 12. For the team like New Jersey, you already get a great pick in Alexander Holtz, and you get another goal scorer in Jack Quinn. Jack Quinn might not be in the NHL for a couple more years. Holtz will probably be in the NHL next year, but you have a top 2 scoring duo in that kind of production in Holtz and Jack Quinn. That would instantly raise New Jersey's offense, and again, with the amount of playmakers they have on that team, the goal scoring will be a lot easier with that too. But now coming in at number 13 and the Minnesota Wild, and in the end, just like last time, I see them selecting Seth Jarvis. Now, this would end up being the case. I think if they still go 13th overall, they would select Seth Jarvis. Maybe if Jack Quinn is available, I could see that also happening, but I think they are 110% going for another forward. Yes, they already got Matthew Boldy in the last draft, but they need offense. I think they realize that. I could see potentially Yaroslav Askarov being drafted to be somehow available at number 13, but for Minnesota, I think they'll go for a center or a winger, and I think that's pretty much set in stone, at least right now. But now going on to the 14th pick and the Florida Panthers, and in my opinion, Florida will select Kaiden Guhle. Now in the last draft they got Spencer Knight, and then proceeded to like a month later sign Sergei Bobrovsky like a 5,000-year deal. Florida is a pretty weird team, but I think they will go for defense, and Kaiden Guhle will be their pick. I said this before on the channel, Guhle is 110% overrated. He has the reputation of a top prospect, especially defensively, and he's not that. But that's a team that I think will take a flyer on the top defenseman, and at that point it might be Kaiden Guhle. In terms of NHL reputation, Guhle has that, and I think Florida is a team that will be kind of dumb enough to pick him in the top 15. But now coming in at number 15 with the Columbus Blue Jackets, the last pick for today's lottery simulation. With the Columbus Blue Jackets, I think they will select Dawson Mercer. Now, that prospect pool isn't needed anything right now, and I think Mercer is a pretty great fit for that team. Right wing's side, which is where he plays, I think would be a great fit for him, and for Columbus, they have a lot of room there. That's a team that I think forward-wise will end up selecting one. It just depends on who's available. If Seth Jarvis is available, they take him, and same thing with Jack Quinn. But those are my picks for the top 15 in the NHL draft. Thanks so much for watching, y'all. Of course, with this video, if you guys enjoyed, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and hit that notification bell if you haven't already. Of course, comment down below your thoughts on my top 15 picks, what you agree and disagree with, and also let me know where you think the top prospects end up in this lottery simulation. Of course, with this video, make sure you share it, get the word out there. Of course, make sure you click on this playlist to watch all of my hockey prospect content right in one place. My name is Nathan, and I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. Goodbye.